That car was involved in an accident and it fell off of a truck. A while back, I guess it was probably 2012, we did a pretty unique car, a Lexus LFA, to a young individual that we did multiple cars in the past for. He's done business with other lending institutions that we know. So, we felt pretty secure entering into this agreement with him. Ended up doing the deal, a lot of money down. Then he went cold on us. We had to start chasing him for payments, and he was in the country, out of the country. We were getting payments in euros. I mean, it was crazy. But anyway, it got to the point where there was no insurance on the vehicle, which is a big no-no, and trying to protect our asset. So it gives us reason to, put it out for repossession. After being slow pay and then getting payments and then the insurance issue, we were getting concerned. Lisa had called me up and said, listen, I think we're going to have a problem, with this particular client. And I'm like, well, he's always paid us. We've done a couple cars, is it serious? No, it's becoming serious, and we're starting to get excuses and customers going cold on us. And I think we need to find this car. And I think I'm going to put it out, for repo. I'm like, well, do some research, see if you can find the car. So she does some homework. During this time frame that she's starting to look for the car, we're also getting these bills from state of New York for easy pass fines, parking tickets. I mean, thousands of dollars, and we're not talking a few. Then we're getting one from Florida, 30 days later. So we're like, we have no idea where this car is. And now he's getting late on his payments. So one of these days, and I hate to say this, I'm one of these parents that, work hard, ignore your kids sometimes. You come home from work, you're really tired, and all your kid wants is your attention. And I'm like to my son, Mitchell, I'm tired. Can you give me a bit? Let me just unwind. I had a really bad day, and, I think we lost a car that I don't know where it is, and it's got high mileage on it. And he's like, oh, Daddy, what kind of car? And I'm like, now... Here's a kid who's always on YouTube and watching your show and stuff like that. And I'm like, always tell him, get off that phone, right? Well, this one, you should listen to your kids sometime. Because here I am at the dinner table, and he goes, well, Daddy, I know where that car is. And I'm like, you know where the car is? And he mentions my customer's name. And I look at him, I'm like, how do you know my customer's name? Because, I don't talk about any deals. He goes, yeah, that car was involved in an accident and it fell off of a truck. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's in California. He goes, you'll find the car in California. He goes, give me some time. I'll even tell you what body shop it's at. So I'm like, you're kidding. So I call up Lisa at, 8 o'clock at night. Hey, Lisa, my kid, just give me some intel on this car that we're looking for. And she's like, your son? I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's on YouTube. She goes, the car's on YouTube? Well, the story about the car is on YouTube. She goes, well, Doug, there's another issue with this. We've been subpoenaed, and that I didn't tell you about this because part of the original transaction on this car, this client used a vehicle as a trade-in for the down payment. And when the dealer got the car, the title wasn't in the client's name that it should have been in. And they sent the title back to the customer, and then the customer said, well, I can't get a duplicate title or a new title unless you send me the car back because it needs an inspection. So the dealer that sold this car sent the car and the title, big mistake, back to our lessee. Well, that lessee turned around, got a title in his name, and then sold the vehicle. Never paid the dealer that took it as a trade-in towards the car that we leased this particular individual. So now we have a situation where we're subpoenaed for all our records and so forth. We got to disclose everything, blah, blah, blah. And I got my son tell me, okay, well, we know where the car is. Okay, so Lisa does her little investigative work, and sure enough, she finds the body shop where the car's at and finds out there is an insurance claim on the car, that it really did fall off of a flatbed and the vehicle was damaged, and they gave us the insurance company's name. As far as the insurance, I don't know if he had insurance reinstated on the vehicle, but it was the insurance from the flatbed company that had to end up paying for the loss of the vehicle. And if you took a look at the car, Ed, you wouldn't know that the vehicle was totaled. But I guess these LFAs are very sophisticated vehicles, and I guess the radiators in the back of the vehicle, and there's a lot of hosing and so forth. So when this thing rolled off and hit another car, there was damage to the back of this car. And I guess, Toyota execs came and looked at the car, engineers, and figured that it would be easier just to get a new one versus rebuild this one, even though the body didn't look that damaged. Well, this gets exciting because they cut a check to our lessee for the vehicle. Didn't think that they would do a search on the car and see that there's another titled owner to it. They cut a check to him. So they stopped payment on that, and they end up sending us our funds. And in the meantime, it happened that the dealer that got screwed on the trade-in, he and I were talking about another deal, and I said, hey, by the way, that car that we leased was involved in an accident. We're getting paid off on this car. And he's like, really? He goes, oh, I remember the transaction, so there should be equity in this vehicle. I said, I don't know. It's got a lot of miles on the car. But he's like, who's the insurance company? I said, I can't give you that information. But listen, if my son could find this on the internet, I think you can find this on the internet too. So he, within an hour, figured it all out. And turns out that the insurance company is 10 miles down the road from his dealership. So he runs down there because he's got a judgment. He runs down there and shows them, the judgment that he has. And yes, there was equity above and beyond what Premier was going to get paid for our payoff. And guess what? He got that equity and he got a check, and it made him whole after chasing this guy for 2.5 years.
Premier Financial Services makes it easier and more affordable than you could possibly imagine to own your dream car. Their Simple Lease is one of the most powerful tools in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits like the tax savings and the low payments of a lease, with all the additional benefits that you normally find in a traditional finance arrangement. You can build up equity, you can pay it off early, you can trade in and out of cars, because you get a very clear and easy to understand amortization table to understand what your payoff will be any month throughout your term. And all the while, the amazing team from Premier Financial Services will be right there to help you along the way. They've been supporters of the VINwiki channel now for 5 years in a row, so we can't thank them enough for that, but mostly we're thankful for the fact that they can help you make it easier than ever to own your dream car. Check them out now.